is Beddome, the leader of the Green Party of Manitoba.
All right.
My name is Kate Story. I'm the deputy leader of the Green Party of Manitoba. And you have all come here to talk to and to listen to Elizabeth May. Elizabeth May, the leader of the Green Party of Canada.
So thank you, Kate, and thank you, David, and thank you all the supporters and volunteers, and especially it's wonderful to be here with my colleague, James Beddome. C'est pour moi, je suis vraiment heureuse d'être ici parmi tout le monde, mes amis, mes collègues et mon homologue, le chef de parti vert du Manitoba, James Beddome. I'm here as apparently the only federal party leader to come into Manitoba in this provincial election campaign. And we are, as Greens, unrelated parties. We're a very interesting political party in that we're so committed to grassroots democracy that there is no legal or other connection between the Green Party of Canada and the Green Party of Manitoba. So why am I here? Well, we share values. We share principles. And whenever we see a Green Party colleague, and when a Green Party colleague in Manitoba asks me if I can come and help, I'm here in a flash. And I'm particularly excited to be here because this election, 2016, is the year the Greens make the breakthrough into the Manitoba Legislature.
All right.
We've got great candidates. A lot of them are here in the room with us, and we have a great provincial leader. I think a lot of people noticed in the debates, Manitoba's leaders' debates, that James Beddome answered the questions that were asked and did it thoughtfully and with real answers that responded to the needs of the people of Manitoba. He would be a wonderful premier, and I think a lot of Manitobans wish that could happen. I wish it could happen, but I'm not going to tell you that's going to happen. I will tell you this is an election where Green MLAs can get elected. So my message to share with Manitobans is simple. I'm the only member of the Green Party in the House of Commons. My colleague, Dr. Andrew Weaver, is the only Green MLA in British Columbia. My colleague, David Kuhn, is the only Green MLA in New Brunswick. And Peter Bevan Baker is the only Green MLA in Prince Edward Island. But there's not a single person in the media or a citizen of those provinces or nationally who would say that one Green MLA makes no difference. Coast to coast, Canadians who've elected Greens are really happy they did. And that's why I'm hoping that in this election, here in Wolseley, ground zero for Green victory, James Beddome, other great candidates across the province, who knows. But David Nickarz has a great chance to be the first Green MLA in Manitoba. I do everything I can to make that happen. Not just because it'll be good for the Green Party or good for Dave Nickarz. It'll be good for the people of Wolseley to have a hard-working Green MLA who believes in a shared future that's better for everyone. So I think we're all open for questions. Did you want to make an opening statement? We didn't plan anything.
We didn't plan any of this.
Yeah.
I think Elizabeth said it all. So if I'll move right along to the questions from the media.
A lot of people in Wolseley are saying that they've seen you out and knocking on doors and your signs have been really visible, but some are still a little bit nervous about voting for a fringe party. What do you say about that?
Yes. We've provided an alternative in Wolseley. This is something that's, like Elizabeth said, this is the strongest Green riding that we have in Manitoba. And we've done the work, and there's been a lot of volunteers behind me on this. I've knocked on 3,000 doors myself. My volunteers have knocked on more than that themselves, And we've done the work to provide an alternative for people in Wolseley. I don't think we're a fringe party. James showed that in the debates, and Elizabeth can speak to that if she wishes. But Elizabeth May is a power broker in Ottawa. She's gained the respect of her colleagues by working across party lines and getting legislation passed. She passed a bill on Lyme disease, and she also moved an amendment to amend the Pipeline Safety Act under the Harper government.
It was accepted by them, 2 amendments. No, the fear factor is the only thing to worry about here. The people who want to vote Green and want to see David Nickarz in Parliament or in the legislature, want to see James Beddome in the legislature, their friends will be saying to them, oh, that's not such a good idea. So I wanted to make sure I was here to backstop anybody saying that one MP or one MLA can't do anything, because the evidence is clear. Just recently in British Columbia, Dr. Andrew Weaver, who's a scientist of international renown, but he's the leader of the Green Party of British Columbia, he put forward a private member's bill. Premier Christy Clark looked at it. It happened to be on sexual assaults on university campuses. Premier looked at the Green bill and said, I think that's what we need, so we're going to make sure that passes. Good ideas presented in a cooperative, respectful fashion get picked up by other parties, and then they become law. So if you're looking for an opportunity to really make a difference with your vote, your only strategic vote is to vote Green.
I just wanted to comment, to say that we're fringe in Wolseley where we placed second 3 times in a row, I think that says it right there on itself, that if there's any party that can take out the incumbent in Wolseley, it is the Greens. It clearly is the Greens, and I think beyond that too, to echo Elizabeth's concerns, we've seen, and we saw in the debate, we saw Mr. Pallister, I think, sort of answer the question and say, yes, he would work with whoever and implement a guaranteed income. This is just one example of how Greens aren't just fringe, but actually we're forward-thinking. The concept fringe, I think, should be applied to the other parties, because they look at fringe issues, they look at tiny little granular issues, they don't look at the big picture and the comprehensive solutions. We're the ones that are forward-thinking and putting the new ideas onto the political agenda and forcing them to be moved forward. So I think that idea is probably spread by our political opponents for their own benefit, but doesn't really have a lot of basis.
Yeah, I'm not interested in tweets and tax returns. I want to talk about policy. I want to talk about how we're going to tackle the increasing poverty in this riding. We have a serious problem with global warming. We're already seeing the cost of it. It's not like in the 90s when it said, oh, maybe in 10 or 20 years we have a chance to change it. We have to deal with it now, and we're getting a lot of costs dealing with global warming. We have to have real action. This current government has done nothing about global warming. They just promised a 3rd round of promises to do something about climate emissions, and they set the goal so far in the future that there's no political consequence to it. So we want to have a real voice in the legislature talking about climate change, new ideas about poverty, and ways to reduce pollution in this province. And I can work across party lines. I can work with my colleagues. Even if I'm the only Green in the legislature, I will work with whoever I can to get the best legislation passed in this province. Anybody else?
Okay, so yeah. What are some of those? People in Wolseley also wanted to know what tangible things would be done if you were elected, because there are some frustrations with who's been elected in the past and not seeing any actual action. So, what are some of the things that would be done?
My first act as MLA, if I'm elected, I want to introduce a private member's bill for a guaranteed annual income for all Manitobans, because poverty needs to be tackled now. It's been increasing over the last 2 terms of government, and food prices are going up, housing prices are going up, and the minimum wage isn't keeping up. So we have to do something and do something different. So we've signed on to the minimum wage, you can come speak to this, the minimum wage increase, and we also want a guaranteed annual income. So those are the specifics, like those are the real answers that we have to address these issues. We want to implement a carbon tax. We have to price greenhouse gas emissions. And that carbon tax will produce $500 million a year, 2/3 of which will go towards lowering the lowest tax bracket tax rate, and also eliminating the payroll tax, being able to pay for that with the carbon tax. The remaining $167 million we want to use to put into a green infrastructure fund. We have many of our low-income houses, our businesses and homes that need repair, and they need to be made more energy efficient. So we've found a place where to get that money and where to put it. And I think we're the only party that has come up with solid numbers on those things. The guaranteed annual income, a carbon tax, and other measures.
Further questions on that, or?
I'm a longtime supporter of a guaranteed annual income, but my information is that you're proposing a guaranteed annual income of $6,300 and some dollars, which is a poverty income. So I wanted to know what income you're proposing as a guaranteed annual income.
You're right, your number is quoted on a single individual household, so it's
Yes.
based on family size. It's going to be done through the tax system, and you're right that it is a modest amount. The way that we determined that was by actually taking a look at a number of refundable, non-refundable credits, as well as other existing programs that weren't reaching their target market. So the best example being Rent Assist, which only 7% of people who are eligible actually apply and get it. So we're looking at these programs, rolling that funding into a single refundable benefit. You're right that it's modest, but we've modeled it that it actually would basically cut poverty rates in half, about a 45% reduction, and it's not going to eliminate existing employment and income assistance programs. It's going to be complementary to it, so that in fact people that are on social assistance right now, who basically over the entire tenure of this government haven't really seen the rates went up. So the basic foods budget has been kept at the same rate since 1996, $4 a day to eat on. Like that fact itself, who could eat on $4 a day in our society, right? And that's why we have one of the highest food bank uses in any province. So you're right that it's a modest amount at $6,300, but it's complementary to existing programs. It would start to cut poverty rates in half, and to me it's just a really good first step. It's a very practical, something that can be implemented right now. Once we start cutting poverty rates in half, I think that gives us an opportunity to look at broader reforms, to look at we also have called for a comprehensive poverty strategy where we'd work with all groups. But you have to start dealing with the poverty rate now, so that by our modeling, you'd free up caseloads at about 18% because people's income would be increased enough that they'd no longer qualify for that. Now you have some freed up capacity inside employment and income assistance that could start targeting specific needs, mental health, addiction, people on long-term disabilities, etc., single parents. These are some of the major users of the system, and maybe we need to think about targeted programs that are going to work for those specific needs.
If I can add, when I looked at the numbers too, guaranteed livable income for all is a national priority of the Green Party of Canada with pushing this issue, and I've been pushing it federally. I think for the first time in a generation, we have a real opportunity to bring in not just a poverty wage, but a livable wage right across the country. Now that will take getting the federal government to move, because I don't think any province on its own can afford it. But provincial and federal governments working together can save huge amounts of money across this country by ensuring we eliminate poverty altogether. So I'm very proud of being associated with what the Green Party of Manitoba is presenting. It's the only substantial, detailed plan, and it comes out of course, the leadership of Manitoba with the experiment in Dauphin, Manitoba back in the 70s, which, by the way, the Green Party of Canada based our national commitment to a guaranteed livable income by having a conference where the researchers from that project, this was back in 2006, gave us their best advice. So as James says, it's a first step, but I wanted you to know that I think right now there's a chance the conversation is advancing nationally, and I just met this week with the minister responsible for children, families, and social development federally. His name's Jean-Yves Duclos. And he is interested in talking about it. Now that's not a commitment, but it's the first interest that I've seen at the federal level in taking it seriously, that we take the next big step in our social safety net and eliminate poverty.
I just, on that question, I think we know a round of applause to this gentleman here, Harvey Stevens, who was himself a researcher. He's a policy chair, and I just want to highlight that I think the numbers he's put together, it's a real proof of concept, a real show me that has forced the other parties to respond. As I said, even the Progressive Conservatives in multiple debates, both Mr. Ian Wishart as well as in the televised debate with Mr. Pallister, have expressed an interest in this. And, Greens aren't about trying to be partisan. We'll work with shudder, a PC government, should we see one, but that may very well be the case, and so we need to work with them and see if they would implement this. I mean, if we don't address poverty, it's one of those fundamental problems that costs us more in the long term. So I think that in a lot of ways we've created something that forces other parties to respond, because we've seen Ontario wants to do a pilot project, we've seen the Manitoba Liberals here say that they would look at a pilot project, and that's fine, it's driving the conversation forward, but we're actually trying to present the concrete numbers of how you would do this on the provincial front alone, and only the provincial front. It would be great if we had full federal cooperation, we could do more, but it's hard to campaign on that in a provincial election. But we've broken down the numbers, and I call any other party to answer these numbers and come up with another proposal that's going to have as much of a significant impact within existing budgets.
Thank you.
Any other questions from journalists?
What's your message to voters in Wolseley?
You lucky voters. Voters of Wolseley are the ones who will have the very happiest day after the election when they realize they're the only voters who did something to make history. So get out and vote Green in Wolseley, get out and vote Green across Manitoba.
We were visiting some people at Lions Manor earlier. How did that go today?
Yeah, well, we could
Well,
both
we could
answer.
both
Who
start.
did you direct it to? Who did?
Either or.
Okay, you go. It's your writing.
So we had a
so
decent
great.
turnout at Lions Manor, about 15, 20 people. Some people came in late, and we also had students who were living in the building come down. So we had the young and the older people in the riding together, and we also found a way to connect them, because one of the older persons in the building was having trouble getting onto a course. She wanted to get on a course to learn how to operate computers, and then the younger people said, I could help you with that. So I mean, we helped bring people together in that way. Then we went to Lions Place, and there was 100?
Over 100.
Over 100 people there wanting to speak with us, and that's why we were late. We were trying to shake as many hands and answer as many questions as we could. We had 45 minutes with these people, and it's not enough, especially with the caliber of people that I brought with me, I have to say. So yes, it went great. It was a very good time, and I'm glad we got into that facility for sure.
But we've talked a lot in this press conference about poverty. We need to underscore that programs for seniors are really lacking, and that was a clear message, and it's true across the country. I happen to represent Saanich Gulf Islands, which has the second oldest, by demographic, the second highest concentration of seniors in my riding of any place in Canada, and I've done a lot of seniors roundtables and issues there. And this was, so the concerns I was hearing from seniors at the Lions Manor and Lions Place were very familiar concerns. High cost of pharmaceutical drugs, the reasons we need a national pharmacare plan, all the things that seniors are looking for in terms of access to services, which was why it was wonderful to see the intergenerational conversation spring up of students saying to seniors, well, maybe I could help you. It was really, I have to say, it was a lot of fun, and I felt very positive about their willingness. When you're over 80, I met one woman who was just almost 100 years old, because I'm 62, and she said to me, well, don't worry, you're 36 years younger than me, and she's going to vote Green. So don't think for a minute that people who've been voting one way their whole life aren't capable of thinking about, maybe it's time to look at something different. And we've now been joined, I see, by Bruce Heyer, a little bit wetter than usual, who is the Deputy Leader of the Green Party of Canada and former Member of Parliament for Thunder Bay Superior North. So here, Bruce. So it's family reunion time.
Just saw each other.
It's the Green Party.
Yeah, you can vote.
Any other questions from the media?
Great turnout. Thank you all for
Yeah,
coming.
thanks for coming.
Your next MLA for Wolseley.